If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Sia, and welcome to the GNAW On This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of GNAW On This Business Bites with Ben and Sia. Now, we've all heard the expression. We may have, been part of it. We might have experienced it. We're talking about the Great Resignation.
I quit.
You're quitting? Go ahead.
I quit. I'm over this.
And
Deuces.
where are you going? You're quitting? Where are you going? What are you doing?
I'm gonna go over here.
Okay. And what are you gonna do?
I'm kidding. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm over this, man. I'm going to start my own gig and I'm going to freaking get paid what I'm really worth. And I answer to no one but me. That's right.
You know what? And here's the thing. 70% of the people that say that are bankrupt in less than 12 months. And unfortunately, that's the reality. The reality is, the Great Resignation is more of the Great Realignment. We've gotten to a situation where people are sitting there going, I want more. I want different. I want to be appreciated. I want to be listened to. I want to be understood. I want to be valued. And they don't feel that wherever they are is getting them to where they want to be. And people, unfortunately, are running from, they're not running to. And that is a serious problem because, as I'm fond of saying, the grass is not greener somewhere else. It's another shade of green.
Or it's a different grass.
And the job that you are jumping into is more than likely the job that somebody else has just left. And why did they leave the job, opening it up for you? So we need to take a look at the Great Resignation from a couple of different ways. Yes, businesses have to do business. Yes, leadership needs to change. Yes, there needs to be a better communication. There needs to be better adherence to mission, vision, value. We need to do what we say and say what we do. And companies need to be more purpose-driven and people-driven. Absolutely. But we also need to sit there and look at expectations and accountability, both for team members being accountable to the companies that they work for, but also the company being accountable to the people on the teams. And we need to take a look and sit there and say, how do we make this better together? Instead of everybody saying, I quit, I'm leaving, I don't want this anymore, jumping out the door and feeling there's going to be some magical place somewhere else, that realizing that what you have today is probably about 90% pretty good. There's 10% that drives you crazy. And of that 10%, you know what? There's conversations that can be had that can take 5 of that 10% and make it a whole bunch better. Because there's no job that's perfect.
Are you HR? Are you HR here?
No, I'm definitely not
Ben HR Baker here?
Ben HR Baker. No, don't even get me started about HR. But that's another conversation altogether. But
you made a great point, Ben. I love that. It's a realignment. We got to remember this. Any open position that you're filling, you have to backfill.
Exactly.
There's a reason why someone left. But there is that saying, Ben, let me challenge you then on this. What's one man's trash is another woman's treasure.
Absolutely. Not every job is for everybody. There are people I know that are sanitation engineers that go around all day, every day, cleaning up trash and love their job. They absolutely love their job. Nobody bothers them. They work on their schedule. They blare their music as loud as they want to. They've got a crew that they love dealing with. They have little kids on the block that sit there and wait for them on the street and smile and wave. There's people that bring them cases of beer at Christmas. And they get paid a reasonable amount of money for what they do. Is it a job that I would want? No. But for the person that sits there and goes, you know what? I don't have to go to the gym at the end of the day because I've already had my workout. I've already, dealt with all my frustrations. I've already dealt with all my angst. And when I come home, I don't care because I don't have to bring my job home with me.
Exactly. There's beauty in every role. And here's the whole thing that I think is fascinating. I think this goes back to even before this whole resignation. I think growing up, we had this expectation of you need to get a college degree or you need to go down a certain path. And I think to some degree we failed our personal selves to admit, hey, and I found this out very belatedly as a podcast, agency, is I'm creative. I didn't realize I was creative.
Mm-hmm. As she sits there and coughs like a crazy woman. She may be creative, but she just coughs like a crazy woman. What can I tell you?
There's nothing more fun than looking at you right now and be like, I'm going to cough in your ear.
But thank God she's got the technology that she can put herself on mute.
So, let me tell you something. We need to, first off, I think there is a very big shift. The Great Resignation is a big term. It's like the cloud when you talk about technology. It's a cloud, and the cloud does cloudy things, right? This resignation thing is multi-generational. There's multiple reasons behind it. I'm going to say one thing, though, that any business, we're entrepreneurs, we own our own business, but we're not a Fortune 100, but 0 to Fortune 100 need to listen to this, which is if you are not listening to what your employees are saying to you, what their needs are, wants are. Now, I know we talked about earlier about needs and wants, but the reality of it is if you do not provide a value of which they find valuable, you're going to get a resignation. If you have a company mission, your company purpose doesn't align with someone's personal mission and purpose, they're going to leave no matter what. Right. So I think there has to be a understanding of attrition that's going to happen. We've talked about this before. Sometimes you just outgrow. You just outgrow the role, organization, whatever. That's okay.
Exactly.
But I think the pandemic has heightened our need to value our priorities more importantly than I think what we had in the past. I think you and I as Gen Xers have accepted a certain amount of masochism, in the workplace. But you know what? Each subsequent generation is like, no, I'm not putting up with that BS. No, you put up with that. Wait, what? Right? It makes me think about some of the tasks, the way we were spoken to, the things that we've accepted is not so acceptable anymore. And I think the resignation is feeding into that. The pandemic has taught us I value my personal time with my family. If my dog who is aging needs to go to the vet, I'm taking off to go to the vet. I'll take the phone call in the car driving to the vet as opposed to sitting in the office, on my hiney.
Exactly. I mean, I think that there's different ways of doing business. Technology is a big thing. We have the ability right now. There's countries like Barbados that are sitting there going, come be a digital nomad for a year. We'll give you a 2-year visa to come be a digital nomad and work in Barbados for 2 years. You have to have a certain amount of money. You have to have a certain level of income. You have to have have a job, or you have to have, be able to prove income. But you don't need to be tied to a desk and change your desk, 12 hours a day. But on the other hand, you also, and you brought this thing up with the younger generation, and I applaud them in one respect that they don't put up with a lot of BS that our generation did. They're not willing to sit there and go, well, I'll go find another job. I don't care. I'm just going to go find another job. And good for them that way, that they actually truly believe that there's going to ultimately always be jobs out there for them. But on the other hand, you have a generation that believes that, I go to school, I've got so much education, I'm worth so much. And I should be the next director, VP, somebody, just because I graduated from 4 years of university. Just because I incurred $250,000 worth of debt makes me valuable to somebody. Well, no. What graduating from university does, it means that you have the ability to learn. That's it. That's all it does. If you have an undergraduate degree, whether it's engineering, psychology, English, whatever, it gives you the ability to learn. Maybe with a master's degree, certainly with a PhD or a law degree or a medical degree, it's a different story. But an undergraduate degree is a piece of paper what high school was when I graduated. It's a rite of passage.
Right. Well, I would argue maybe that's a future conversation we need to know on is a college degree worth its weight anymore? Is it worth the investment in dollars?
And I don't know whether it is for most people.
I don't know anymore either. So Leah, let us gnaw on that a little bit more because, with this conversation about that great resignation, I think initially it was boomers need to retire. Boomers, please, for the love of all things. There have been arguments that Gen X has not been able to rise to the power of certain leadership levels because the boomers aren't retiring. I don't know if you've read that article or not.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're getting closer. I think the pandemic helped facilitate a little bit more of that retirement of like, you know what, screw this. I'm over it. I've paid my dues. I'm going to enjoy my life, however it might be. So I think the great resignation, yes, is absolutely rooted in the older generation of like saying we're leaving. But I think I'm seeing so much more younger folks making the decision saying you don't hold the same values as I do. And I'm going to find another company that has a better value system that aligns with me.
Yeah. And I think that it's going to take some time. And I think it's going to take a lot of effort on everybody's side and a lot of communication to sit there and say, who do we need to be going forward? And how is this going to work for people within the organization? How is this going to work for the organization itself and the people within the organization? And how do we take what's worked, what hasn't worked, what we want to do and what we aspire to do, and put it all together in a way that's going to allow you to move forward, successfully? And that's going to take a lot of people sitting down, being committed to change and changing.
Words of wisdom from Ben Baker. Something to chew on or gnaw on, perhaps.
There we go. So let's gnaw on this. This is Business Bites with Ben Sia. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me, Sia, at innovationmediaenterprises.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.